repeating the exact same thing I said up here, but I just wanted to be on the record as saying, we're friendsies, right, Jeff? Look at us go. And I'm glad we both saw eye to eye that this was a fascinating piece. And thanks again for the link and the reconnaissance. It's good. It's awesome. They're working together. Glenn, the person who likes to call out Jeffrey Bezos on the sidelines, especially if he wants to attack a specific journalist who's going after the libs of TikTok. But when it comes to Glenn's actual interactions with Jeffrey Bezos, they seem to be quite cordial, on the same side, one would think. Jeffrey Bezos. So I don't know if everyone saw, but it seems like Tim Pool followed through on his word. He said yesterday he was going to take out a billboard in Times Square, and he did it. Here's Taylor Lorenz responding. Tim Pool and the CEO of the Daily Wire took out a giant billboard in Times Square today in an attempt to discredit my reporting on libs of TikTok. And says Taylor Lorenz doxed at libs of TikTok. This billboard is undeniably so idiotic, it's hilarious, but don't forget that these campaigns have a much darker and more violent side. I'm grateful to be at a newsroom that recognizes these bad faith, politically motivated attacks and has a strong security team. Once again, Glenn Greenwald on the attack. It was completely predictable, and indeed, many predicted, that the only real victim, TM, of the doxing of libs of TikTok, make sure to tag them so they'll retweet this with their power, by Taylor Lorenz, so she knows that he's throwing some shade, and at the Washington Post would be Taylor Lorenz. The outcome is always that this wealthy, powerful media figure who ruins the lives is the victim. Again, he's always associating Taylor Lorenz with this kind of like upper crust in that she works for Jeffrey Bezos's Washington Post, which of course is a very rich man, perhaps sometimes the richest man on the planet. He goes back and forth with Elon Musk. And so Gran goes on. The rules, splashing a private citizen's name, work address, and religion all over the Bezos-owned Washington Post, and banging on the doors of the relatives, heroic. Splashing the name of a powerful media figure on a billboard of a cable show, evil, vile, murderous. Corporate journalists can do anything they want to private citizens, unveil their identities, dig up unpublished dirt about their lives, stalk their relatives, ruin their reputation. But nobody can publicly criticize corporate journalists for doing that. That's the game here. Can someone tell me what was revealed by the WAPO about this person behind libs of TikTok? Taking them again. That this was in the public interest or aided understanding? She's a Jewish woman, works at a real estate agent, lives in Brooklyn. Wow, so illuminating. It wasn't journalism, but punishment. So again, Glenn Greenwald trying to push a very specific narrative and ignoring a lot of the facts and figures of the story. The reason they published that she was a proud Jewish woman was that was one of the descriptions that she used at one point. I don't genuinely believe at this point that Glenn has actually read the article. Again, didn't publish her personal address, didn't publish her personal phone number, any of that kind of stuff. And yeah, they published that her job was that of a real estate agent. She's incredibly newsworthy at this point, considering that her site grew to such a size, it had such a power that it was actually affecting legislation, and she was colluding with the press secretary of Ron DeSantis. So yeah, if you're doing a journalism, one would expect you to pick up upon those parts of the story. And again, Glenn's biggest thing here is that Taylor Lorenz is rich and powerful, and she works for the Jeffrey Bezos owned Washington Post. Again, you have to be very scared about Jeffrey Bezos and corporate media, if that's what you care about in terms of their narrative. But here's something else. Vanity Fair, I don't know if they're a big publication, probably an indie mag or something like that, seems to get some incredible praise from Glenn Greenwald. This Vanity Fair article on the, quote, new right is so conspicuously different because he does something so rare for modern journalism. He wrote about controversial thought, people to understand and explain it, not to prove he's on the good side. This was a piece of reporting that Glenn Greenwald loved. Now, I read the article yesterday. I won't bore you with the entirety of the thing, but it's a wonderful, amazing fluff piece for Peter Thiel and everyone else who's trying to, let's just say, craft a new right movement in America. And I can see completely why every person who's featured in it was very gleeful to be called upon, to be interviewed, and to have their story told in this. One of the things, though, that kind of stood out to me was this part. You won't hear people use the cathedral term a lot in public, although right-wing Twitter lit up with delight when Yarvin sketched the concept on Tucker Carlson's Fox News Nation show last September. People who have opened their eyes to the system of control have taken the red pill, a term Yarvin started using back in 2007, long before it got watered down to generally mean supporting Trump. To truly be red-pilled, you have to understand the workings of the cathedral. The way conservatives can actually win in America, he has argued, is for a Caesar-like figure. I hate you. All these ads are popping up in the real time, pushing this out of the way. Is for a Caesar-like figure to take power back from this devolved oligarchy and replace it with a monarchical regime run like a startup. As early as 2012, he proposed the acronym RAGE, Retire All Government Employees, as a shorthand for a first step in the overthrow of the American regime. What we needed, Yarvin thought, was a national CEO, or what's called a dictator. Yarvin now shies away from the word dictator, and seems to be trying to promote a friendlier face of authoritarianism as the solution to our political warfare. If you're going to have a monarchy, it has to be a monarchy of everyone, he said. I mean, that's horrifying and frightening to me, but to Glenn Greenwald, this was an excellent article. You know who also loved it? Jeffrey Bezos, who retweeted Glenn Greenwald saying, "Agree, this is a fascinating piece. No one drawn as a cartoon. Thanks for the link and the reconnaissance, Glenn." High fives. High fives. Oh, and Glenn has a little addition. What's rare about it is the journalist took a controversial set of ideas and people he clearly does not agree with, but instead of using the article to denounce and hurl insults, he tried to fairly understand and explain those ideas and people, and thus his article enlightened. Repeating the exact same thing I said up here, but I just wanted to be on the record as saying, we're frenzies, right, Jeff? Look at us go. And I'm glad we both saw eye to eye that this was a fascinating piece. And thanks again for the link and the reconnaissance. It's good. It's awesome. They're working together. Glenn, the person who likes to call out Jeffrey Bezos on the sidelines, especially if he wants to attack a specific journalist who's going after the libs of TikTok. But when it comes to Glenn's actual interactions with Jeffrey Bezos, they seem to be quite cordial on the same side, one would think. So glad this is what goes on behind the scenes of all this kind of stuff. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to embark on a mighty jihad in your name. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble jester, attempting in vain to get you to laugh. To our valiant knights of the Round Table, Benji Arnie, Tech Tink, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood. It doesn't matter what I believe, it only matters what I can prove. Egbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Vivienne McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tao, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevbot, EXE, Brian Ephraim, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our mugs and salute our brave heroes off to another glorious conquest.